Yo guys, Punkrat on another video. Here we go with another class-specific propaganda piece, friends. I've done the mage, I've done the warrior, although that video did actually get taken down. I'll probably re-upload it at some point. This time, I'll be covering the crusader class that everyone loves to hate, the paladin. So you might be thinking, but Punkrat, paladins are the best. Why are they the class that everyone loves to hate? You know, I totally understand that. I too ask myself the same question. So I went through the crucible, I put the metal to the anvil, and went on a quest to figure it out for myself. I conquered the battlefield, honed my skills, and became a legendary wielder of the blade through my battle-scarred adventures. I delved into the unknown crypts and dragon lairs, healing my allies to glorious victory over seemingly impossible challenges. I studied the mechanics, crunched the numbers, and wrote the most insightful guides available to the public for paladins. I'm now an expert, so let's go over the synopsis, friends. Let me sell the paladin for you. Okay, so hit level 60, wear a dress, and be forced to heal. Alright, video's done. See you on the next one, boys. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Of course, you know the drill. Okay, fine. Enough paladin memes. Let's actually continue the rest of the video pretending that paladins are actually a good class. The reality is, paladins are actually one of the best classes in the game in vanilla. They're arguably the strongest healers with the ability to wear full plate gear and use a shield, making them sturdy as hell and much less vulnerable than a priest would when it comes to getting clobbered by physical attacks. So initially with this video, I was going to give equal coverage to holy paladins and the other specs as well, but I mean, come on, that's boring. No one really cares about holy paladins. I get messages from people all the time asking me about rep paladins, so a large portion of this video specifically will actually get pretty in-depth when it comes to the rep paladin. Especially since I've covered most of the Holy Paladin information in previous videos, but I've given Retribution Paladins almost zero attention. And that's not right, boys. I know a lot of you guys are mold breakers. Just because some fat depressed nerd told you that you have to respect Holy to join his raid, you know, you're a trendsetter and you're gonna do what you want. So let me help you with that. Here we go. We'll cover Holy really fast and delve into Ret for the rest of the time. So when it comes to PvE, Paladins are generally forced, and I mean forced, to spec Holy. Paladin healers are extremely potent and consistent, with the ability to just spam heals like a damn industrial heal bot. A top performer in their roles, providing buffs that no other class can rival, to be honest. Generally, most top-end raiders, at least from the private server world, will tell you that Alliance has a slight edge when it comes to raid progression, and I'd say that's largely due to Paladins. Of course, at the end of the day, the players themselves are the ones who dictate who's going to get world first, and which guild actually performs the best. But I'd say it's probably true that Alliance does have a slight advantage, although marginal. But if that margin does actually exist, it's definitely based on the Paladin's strength itself. So let's call Paladins the difference makers. Holy Paladins are simple. You stack intellect, spell crit, and basically just spam a couple spells over and over again, just standing there and just constantly spam the same heal. They just do what they do and they get the job done. Not much required, just spam flash a light and top the meter. Little work, big reward. You've just become a highly demanded commodity, highly beloved by all the warriors in the land. But everyone knows this stuff, right? You guys don't want to hear about holy paladins. That's the mundane side of the story. You want to hear about the real paladins, not the cross-dressing wannabe healers, the two-handed chads swinging on their foes with the power of the light, a warrior of the Zephyr. So the common understanding is that Ret just doesn't work. You have to go holy. This, my friends, is not true. You can be the holy warrior of your dreams. It can be done. But the reality is that it's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. You need to earn it. Rep paladins are actually pretty viable. With the right gear and the right consumables, it can work. So that's really the catch-22. With great power comes great responsibility, and in being a viable paladin requires a whole lot of commitment. You need to absolutely dedicate. Rep paladins are unique in a couple of ways. They deal physical damage with their strikes, but also deal holy spell damage. So the way to make it work is actually taking advantage of that fact, using attack power consumables, crit consumables, and stacking spell power potions on top of that as well. So that's it. Where warriors will only be using melee consumables, paladins need both physical and spell power consumables. Essentially double the grind, I guess, in a certain way. On top of that, rep paladins also like stacking on hit effects, from trinkets to consumables. So Dragon's Breath Chili being the most notable one, and of course you got trinkets that have on hit effects. So once you stack all the aforementioned buffs, and of course let's include world buffs as well, paladins can compete. They can actually do pretty well, especially once you reach later raid tiers like AQ40 and you're in tier 2.5 gear. Retribution Paladins have two different builds. They either run Seal of Command or Reckoning, but in PvE you definitely go Seal of Command, which is basically like a Wind Fury proc. It's a chance to proc an extra attack, which is why Paladins like on-hit effects like Dragon's Breath Chili and Maelstrom so much. You're gonna get that extra attack pretty often, so that allows you to proc not only extra attacks, but also proc extra on-hit effects as well. Now in certain private servers, some on-hit effects actually scaled with spell power, so it was even more viable, but when it comes to the official classic realm, I'm pretty sure they don't. I mean, some might, who really knows? We haven't hit max level to really test any of it yet, but even regardless of that fact, on-hit effects will most likely be the meta when it comes to playing a classic Ret Paladin. So if you really want to make this work, you're going to have to follow this model to unlock your hidden potential, but please understand that the potential is indeed there. It's not as hopeless as many will make you think it is. You just have to go above and beyond. You have to get all of the best gear, you have to get all of the best consumables, and you have to try 10 times harder when it comes to your on time and your upkeep within the actual raid itself. So Paladins also can tank a little bit. Generally, you don't actually want to be tank spec, but Paladins do in fact have the ability to pop on a little tanking set and AoE tank certain gauntlets at times. For example, when I was running BWL a long time ago, Blackwing Lair for you guys that have literally never played vanilla, we would generally have a Ret Paladin apply Righteous Fury, which increases his threat, and put on a little pseudo tank set with spell power pop trinkets, let's say, and he would just AoE tank all of the little whelps as we would make it through the suppression room. So having a set like that can also add to your ability to facilitate getting a raid spot. You might not be a Fury Warrior, but you do bring unique utility, buffs, and indeed, you can compete if you have all of your ducks in a row. Alright, so that's PvE. Now let's cover where Paladins truly shine in all aspects, and that's in PvP. Paladins are a top performer here, and they're much more flexible than their 95% holy representation in PvE would make you think. So quickly, let's follow the model that I mentioned earlier at the start of this video and quickly go over Holy. Holy Paladins haven't changed much over the years in PvP, at least in their playstyle. They're a backline heal bot with decent utility. They're a warrior's best friend. Paladins, I'd say, are the best pocket healers, period, in the entire game. They have the ability to cleanse magic, cleanse poison, which shamans can't, they can only get poisons. So poisons and magic debuffs are probably the most annoying effects in vanilla, whether it's a rogue poison, viper sting, and of course, any magic spell that really needs to be dispelled like fear or sheep. They have their basic buffs. They have Blessing of Freedom, they have Blessing of Protection, Blessing of Sacrifice, and Bubble on top of that. You're the core healer behind the pre-made groups. You're the one who's supporting the warrior as he's charging into the enemy frontline, or supporting your flag carrier and enabling your druid to just run through enemy lines and cap that flag. Now when it comes to Ret, again, Paladins are great. One of the most major downsides to playing a Ret Paladin in PvE is the lack of a sustainable mana pool. You run out of mana really fast, otherwise Ret Paladins would honestly be fine. But in PvP, it's less of a factor. Fights last less long, you will go sometimes, but overall it's not really an issue. You can also get access to BG specific mana drops, so you'll have cheap mana potions on the fly whenever you're doing your BGs, which compensates for a lot of your downsides. Hunters have Viper Sting, no worries, you can just cleanse poisons. That's another great aspect. Ret Paladins may not have gap closers, but they do have dispels. You're a train that's very hard to stop, so in the Retribution tree you also get improved mount speed and improved speed, walking speed. You have the ability to remove slows from yourself when it comes to poisons and magic debuffs, and you just keep on trucking forward constantly. If it's a wing clip or a hamstring, you could just Blessing of Freedom. You chase, you always chase, persistently running after your foes with the intent of delivering justice. You're kind of like that one guy who's just really hard to knock out. He may not be the most skilled fighter, but he just refuses to go down, refuses to give up, and it's so hard to knock him out. Just keeps pushing forward no matter how many times you punch him in the mouth. So I went over Seal of Command, which is the focus for PvE, but keep in mind that it's also quite good in PvP. It's just an extra massive crit straight to your enemy's head, knocking them out in one punch pretty much. But what I would say is the more common PvP build is the Reckoning build. So Reckoning is actually a protection talent, so you'll be running half Prot and half Retribution. The talent states that every crit that you receive gives you an extra attack, which can actually stack up. So for instance, if you're fighting against a hunter, you could take hits from his pet, stacking up those Reckoning stacks over and over again as you're maybe line of sighting or just running away or trying to live. Then once your stacks fill up, you hodge the hunter and just straight up one-shot him. And the same with rogues, you can just be eating the crits as they're stun locking you, then right when the kidney shot ends, you hodge the rogue and just boom, pretty much can one-shot him, or at least get him low enough where you could just Hammer of Wrath him and finish off the job. And this is generally the main selling point when it comes to playing a Ret Paladin in PvP, the ability to to absolutely global your enemy, similar to an enhancement shaman, but slightly harder hitting, especially as Seal of Command. You can get massive Seal of Command procs. So if you want to get extra attack procs and just clobber your enemies down to the ground while healing, dispelling, and running a marathon every Warsong Gulch and AB pre-made because everyone just runs away from you the moment they see you and always tries to cut you, then Ret Paladin is your spiritual pick. You're constantly Usain Bolting. It doesn't end there though, fellers. There's actually 2 niche PvP specs that you can run which are immensely fun on top of this. The first one is actually a Protection Paladin build, and you might be thinking, this isn't Wrath of the Lich King Protection Paladin? Or I guess we could call it a one-hand shield spell power reckoning spec. So this is honestly the most fun Paladin build in my opinion in the game. But it's the hardest one to pull off since you need such a high gear level and preferably a Thunder Fury, which you're just not gonna get on a Paladin in Classic. But it's so damn sick. You rock an on-hit weapon with Frost Oil applied. So the Frost Oil can actually proc a nice slow. So you can proc a slow, you're sturdy, you can heal, you can dispel, you can absorb a ton of damage from your enemy taking crits and just turn it on them with huge one-handed reckoning procs and also having that elemental blast from your weapon. There's a nice theory behind it, I find. It's almost like a reflector tank build or a rebuke tank build, counterpunching dudes like it's Hajime no Ippo. I definitely suggest it if you can get the rank 13 gear and just want to cheese people, or once you get tier 2.5 when AQ40 is released. But again, much less viable without a Thunder Fury, since Thunder Fury constantly procs and it adds to your consistent damage, but still you could run it for fun if you want. Now a little tangent build on top of that is something definitely way more known to the public. It really became popularized in the Burning Crusade, but it's also viable in vanilla as well if you want to be a cheeseball. It's, I mean, you probably guessed it, Holy Shock Paladin, or Shockadin. So a spell power healer style paladin. This is the offensive healer version of a pally, using spell power gear from top to bottom instead of bonus healing. Generally, you'll see paladins run this once they get access to Judgment or tier 2 paladin. You're basically a healer, but you just have an increased offensive potency, using your judgments and holy shock combos on enemies while supporting your teammates. So healing and just having a nice little burst with a decent chance to crit. It's honestly a classic, and you're gonna see at least one Shockadin on every single server that you play on. I guarantee you on that one. So that's the thing when it comes to paladins, is that they may not be the most intricate or complex class to play, but they are quite fun and they do have a lot of different ways that you can play them, especially in PvP. Less so in PvE, of course, but I think the fact that you're pretty much the most demanded healer and you can actually make ret work, especially because if a guild is actually missing a paladin buff, they might just bring you just so they can get that extra paladin buff going on the raid. Alright fellas, honestly this one was a bit more difficult to me because I had to sort of set my personal bias aside. I honestly don't connect so well with the Paladin class in general, but I tried to do as good of a job as possible in representing its potential. And you know, certain people love it so much. Paladins aren't for everyone, especially Ret Paladins. But out there, I'm sure you guys know this already, there's die-hard Ret Paladin fanatics. People who just enjoy it so damn much, it becomes their identity. So if that's your destiny, hopefully this video is going to help you embrace that. Honestly, I don't know if this video was sick or if it was trash. I kind of don't even know how I feel about this video. I guess the like to dislike ratio in the comments are going to tell me that. Let me know what you guys think. So if you guys enjoyed it and you want to see more content like this from me, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, of course, you know the drill. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I post a video. Follow me on Twitch for the spicy memes. Join the Discord for even spicier memes. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.